It's a beautiful Friday. Very good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're watching us from. Welcome to yet another episode of Acfim Talks. Your host Felix Kafuma, and today we are discussing cryptocurrency and political finance in Uganda. And like it's always my practice, this is where I invite everybody out there to join us for today's discussions. You can be part of this conversation on all our social media platforms. We are live on Twitter at Acfim UG. We are live on Facebook and also live on YouTube, Acfim UG. Yeah, you just log in and get there, and then we get the conversation started. And with me, I'll be introducing two guests who will be helping us make sense of cryptocurrency and political financing in Uganda. But just to make sense of this conversation, where are we coming from, and why is the political finance watchdog that probably brings you this show, Acfim Talks, every Friday between 11 to midday, is now putting into spotlight this conversation. It's because we've observed that I think our media team last week came across a shop that was trading in cryptocurrencies, commonly known as cryptocurrencies, in Uganda's capital, Kampala. And that shop is along, I think that's Jinja Road or Kampala Road, and it opened this outlet. And not before long, we should be able to see more of other outlets opening up across the country. And you might be also aware that not so long ago, the conversation around cryptocurrencies has been ongoing, especially for the past 4 years, and gaining traction in Uganda. And we can now comfortably say that looks like the first official shop to trade in cryptocurrency has now opened in Uganda, and there are now more than 1,000 cryptocurrencies in the market, which is mainly dominated by the Bitcoin, according to the trading view of 2018. And their use is increasing in all forms, and including political activities such as election campaign financing. The cryptocurrency shop in Uganda is so far currently only trading in Bitcoin, Chainlink, and Tether, among others. But world over, this conversation on cryptocurrency that seems to be gaining traction, and many countries are struggling on how to deal with it. And they're undecided on whether to consider cryptocurrencies in the same category as other conventional currencies, like the way you look at the dollar, pound, yuan, or the euro, and whether it should be treated as an asset. And it's also unclear on what the exchange rate in relation to other international currencies should be. So there is an ongoing conversation and debate on how to deal with cryptocurrency. But in today's episode of Acfim Talks, we focus on the topic of cryptocurrency and how it relates with political financing as developments continue to unravel. And with me, I have two gentlemen, like I promised to introduce them. I have Geoffrey Ekongot, who is a creative professional, conceptual thinker, and a tech-savvy expert, quite knowledgeable on the subject of cryptocurrency. He has also served in different capacities as the talent consultant for a global music television channel, MTV Base. Also at served, I don't know whether Geoffrey is still the current chairperson for the Electoral Commission of Ugandan Musicians Association. At some point, you were very active in that area, but he's also the current chairman of Donors Center Home for Autism. You are most welcome, Geoffrey Ekongot.
Thank you, Felix. It's good to be here.
Great. Our other panelist is Henry Muguzi, who is a regular on this show. Henry Muguzi is a political finance expert. He's also an anti-corruption activist, a researcher, as well as a political scientist. He's the current executive director of Alliance for Finance Monitoring. Henry, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you, Felix. Thank you for having me, and to our viewers, wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, good night.
Okay, like I said, we are proud to be among the first institutions, our organizations having this conversation around cryptocurrency as it gains traction. And for starters, we need to split the atom, and I'm going to bring Jeff. Jeff, I'm going to um, task you to explain what cryptocurrency is, how does it work, how does it differ from other currencies, how is it regulated, is there another banking system for cryptocurrency that is different from the known financial systems? Just help someone out there who is interfacing with this conversation for the first time.
Thank you very much, Felix. I'm really an enthusiast on cryptocurrency. My explanation will be non-technical, but from a non-technical point of view, let's look at traditional currencies first. Then we can juxtapose that with cryptocurrencies. Traditional currencies, also known as fiat currency, are regulated by central banks worldwide. In our case in Uganda, they are regulated by the central bank. It means that all transactions are directly or indirectly monitored by the central bank. Let's say on a day-to-day, if you issue a check, the check will go through your bank, and then BOU will have a say in what happens to it, and then finally to the recipient or the beneficiary of that check. So in a way, BOU, the central bank, is acting as a middleman to ensure that all transactions are monitored and they are legit. So where does cryptocurrency come in? Cryptocurrency falls in the category of decentralized finance. The idea behind cryptocurrency is to get rid of the middleman. People who started cryptocurrencies felt like there's no need for a central bank because it creates costs. Two, it makes transactions slow because third parties have to be involved. Of course, there are other concerns to do with also safety. Some people feel like cryptocurrencies are much safer because cryptocurrencies are built on the concept of blockchain. So the blockchain is essentially a distributed ledger. So what does that mean? If we say the central bank is like our central ledger where all transactions are documented, in the context of blockchain, it's a system where there are millions of copies of this ledger, and there's an automated way of keeping a record of all transactions without a central point where these transactions are recorded or controlled. So it means that no third party can come and influence directly what happens when two people are trying to transact or two parties are trying to transact. So cryptocurrencies essentially were created to in a way to represent freedom of choice in transacting, so that you don't have to feel like a third party has to control how you spend your money and who you deal with. Of course, there are regulatory concerns such as money laundering, and then governments want to have a say in the day-to-day affairs of their citizens. But the people who started these concepts were thinking way beyond things like that. Of course, there have been concerns and on such issues. But in basic terms, cryptocurrency is just a way, a distributed way of moving money. It's a digital cash with a non-centralized way of monitoring the transactions.
Wow.
Thank you, Felix. I think that should be covered, the basics.
Yes, you do cover the basics, and you make a case that okay, it's a decentralized way of moving cash. So in this case, you remove the third party, and you deal directly with the other actors minus the third party. it also then it is going to raise, but you said it's a much safer way, and so you make arguments pros for why cryptocurrency should be considered. Then my other question is, because you said it's built on the blockchain, how does this then differ from, I think you've heard of what they call pyramid schemes?
Oh yes, I have heard about pyramid schemes.
How does the crypto differ from the pyramid schemes?
That's a very good question. Now, there has been, when cryptocurrencies were started, at first it was more peer-to-peer, like from individuals to individuals. Then they felt there was a need to create what they call crypto exchanges. Crypto exchanges facilitate the details in these transactions. For example, if I have Uganda shillings and I want to acquire a certain amount of Bitcoin or a certain cryptocurrency, there has to be the exchange process. So somebody has to be willing to take my Uganda shilling in exchange for the Bitcoin. So like the way you would go to a regular forex bureau, the forex bureau becomes that third party who is willing to hang on to your dollars or your Uganda shilling in exchange. So the exchanges were created, and these exchanges were supposed to help facilitate that process. But because cryptocurrencies are still at the early stage, um, scammers started creating fake exchanges or fake platforms that pretend to offer these services. And that's how they gave birth to these pyramid schemes. They started uh, creating these pyramid schemes in the guise that they're giving you an opportunity to cash in. How are you cashing in? For example, there are people who are genuinely making a ton of money from facilitating these exchanges. Um, let me compare it to mobile money. When you send mobile money to a third party, you go to a mobile money point. The mobile money point is the one that has to fork the float. The float to temporarily make sure there's money that you can take and there's money that can be received on the other end to be able to convert it to cash. So these exchanges were meant to do this. So in the context of cryptocurrencies, there's what they call, for example, liquidity pools. People who bring these floats to facilitate these transactions. So people, scammers, took advantage of ignorance of all these technical details around these transactions and started pretending to offer people an opportunity to cash in on this whole thing. But because people don't want to take the time to understand the technical details, once they hear that, oh, you invest X amount of money and somehow a third party will help you to take care of the technical details and you make money somehow. And then they came in and started creating all these fake exchanges. I remember Bank of Uganda issued a warning around OneCoin. OneCoin was one of those fake ones. And most of these ones are usually early because these were created by real technical people who understand how the legitimate cryptocurrency world works. So they create parallel systems that sort of mimic the other ones, but they tweak a few things in the logic, and then the non-technical people miss these details. People who are not interested in understanding the technical details usually miss these details and they get scammed. And of course, the pyramid schemes are typical that they require you to also recruit other users, and somehow you also take a cut of the other users. So it's an issue of greed and unscrupulous people taking advantage of legitimate crypto technologies that actually are very useful.
Wow. You are taking me to school. I'm understanding this whole concept of. I'm going to bring you in at some point, but let me first run with Geoffrey, because we must first demystify this concept of cryptocurrency. Now, how is it regulated? Because, okay, you've removed, in the conventional way, you have Bank of Uganda, for example, you have a central bank that does play the third party, which is kind of like the regulator, when it comes to cryptocurrencies, who regulates? How is this regulated? And does that also explain why many countries are struggling to regulate it because it can't be regulated? How do you regulate cryptocurrencies realistically?
Technically, cryptocurrencies are supposed to be automatic. That's the concept of the distributed ledger. It's supposed to be software that is written around certain principles that, for example, if this happens, then that happens. If this, so the rules are automatic and there's supposed to be no third party directly manipulating these. However, somebody has to build this software and somebody has to make sure this software keeps working. So that's where the exchanges come in. And these exchanges are the ones who are building this software, and they take a small cut in fees for access for using these platforms. Now, where does the regulation come in? So on a global scale, the top exchanges don't have direct regulation, but in specific countries where they operate, those countries have dictated that they must operate a certain way. And there's some form of regulation. For example, Binance is one of the biggest cryptocurrency exchanges, and it was started by a guy from Singapore. It's operating worldwide, hasn't been operating here in Uganda. But in the US government insisted that they must create a different copy of their exchange, a copy that goes by the rules of the US regulators. So where they have some kind of oversight, how they can control what goes on. So in the US, Binance is regulated by the US government. But in some countries, it's just operating freely. Like here, it was operating freely until recently when Bank of Uganda issued that warning against all financial technology companies to desist from dealing with crypto platforms. However, the concept of regulation is not in the standard form as we understand it. It's more because cryptocurrencies are really automatic in the way they operate. When they fluctuate, it's based on the market, what's happening in the market. So regulation is a new concept that governments are beginning to take on. For example, in the US, they were required. The basic requirement was that they must register a new company in the US that's monitored by the US government. But the government had not specifically put in place very clear policies on how they operate. Actually, the US Congress has been having engagements with the top crypto fraternity to understand how they can position to play a role in the crypto space. And these conversations are ongoing so that these conversations can form the foundation for some kind of regulation in the future. In our own space here, Bank of Uganda has been, their position in the beginning was that they didn't really understand what was happening in the space, so they kept some kind of arm's length attitude. And then eventually, when they started taking some kind of position, it was more directly distancing themselves from these crypto platforms and insisting that the public doesn't engage with them. However, there has been a change of direction. Just recently, the Bank of Uganda created what they call a regulatory sandbox. A regulatory sandbox is a safe space where they have invited financial technology companies to come and test or pilot their ideas around crypto. They want to have this safe space where they can understand how these things work and the implications before they roll them out to the public. So regulation around cryptocurrencies is in its early stages because the regulators don't really know how exactly to regulate them. So it's a developing space.
Wow, thank you so much. You're still watching Acfim Talks. We're having a very interesting conversation about cryptocurrency and how it relates with political financing. And this is why I bring in Henry Muguzi. Henry, I was reading a report by Baker McKenzie on blockchain and cryptocurrency in Africa. Interestingly, and we are still discussing the issue of regulation here. Interestingly, countries in the Maghreb, countries like Morocco, Algeria, Libya, then Zambia down here, and then Namibia, Zimbabwe, Swaziland, for them, they have just banned cryptocurrency. But when you come to our region, where you have countries like Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Botswana, Madagascar, Ghana, Nigeria, and Cameroon, DRC, Rwanda, for them, they have no stance. They have not banned it, neither are they necessarily promoting it. It's a gray area. When you come to countries like Senegal, Sierra Leone, Swaziland, Lesotho, and South Africa, these ones are having progressive discussions towards embracing cryptocurrency, and even actually some of them have gone ahead to even put in place what you call the regulatory sandbox. So they are a bit progressive in that direction. But let me come to you in view of that. First of all, how practical is it to regulate cryptocurrency? Let's look at the case of Uganda. Is cryptocurrency legal? Is it legal? Those are questions I'm asking myself. And I think even at some point I'll come back to you, Geoffrey, but you can also attempt this, Henry. Who owns cryptocurrency? Because Geoffrey has just said some individuals come together, put in place a system. But then who owns it? Where does the buck stop?
Thank you, Felix. I think in my presentation, I'm going to try, because we have a subject of discussion that says cryptocurrency and political finance in Uganda. I'm going to also make an effort to move cryptocurrency from its current realm to the realm of political finance, so that we can be able to draw the lines. Of course, Geoffrey has articulated it very well, but I'll just point out one or two or three things. Number one, crypto is a currency that was created in defiance. The reason I call it defiance is that you have a group of men and women who got tired of being regulated by central banks and said, look, how do we go around the system? So they came up with the crypto, which is why he ably pointed out the fact that it is decentralized. Decentralized meaning that there's no centralized mechanism that regulates it. The other thing maybe he fell short of pointing out is the issue of anonymity. That most of these cryptocurrencies are anonymous. And because they are anonymous and enveloped in defiance, then they become a currency that everybody wants to use. Now, crypto, by its very nature, is difficult to track. I know there are some that have a degree of transparency, but most of the cryptocurrencies are not easy to track, which is why they are growing in popularity. Now, in many countries they're not regulated. I was reading that many of the developed North, the Americas and Canada, but also Europe, do not have yet regulations to regulate cryptocurrency, because many of them do not understand them. You see, cryptocurrency is a phenomenon. Nobody clearly knows how this phenomenon operates. They're just trying to understand it. And I will tell you that the originators of cryptocurrency did not do so because they wanted the transparency or sunlight. They did so because they wanted to continue concealing their transactions. Now, That is where the crux of the matter is when it comes to political financing, because in many countries, before I go there, but cryptocurrency, the other advantage it has is that it knows no borders. It easily moves from one country to the next without being detected. It is so stealth. It cannot be detected. It's such a lethal weapon that every person will want to use. Now, there is the problem, because when you look around, we know that money is an issue when it comes to politics. We know that for you to have hygiene in your democracy, it's important that you regulate money that finances political parties, but also money that finances election campaigns. We know that in a number of countries, close to 70% of countries that have put in place robust political finance regulatory framework, they have banned money from foreign sources. And the reason they ban this is because you don't want a situation where there are foreign entities that have bankrolled the political parties in your country or bankrolled candidates, in which case the candidates and political parties become more loyal to the foreigner than they are to the system of the country. But because crypto is this phenomenon that defies borders, it has become very popular within political finance, the realm of political finance, because money easily moves. You will recall in the recent elections, there were questions about how does the opposition political party NUP access its money. Many of the government intelligence officers acting on the basis of half-baked information concluded easily that it was us, civil society organizations, that were being used as conduits for NUP money. But now we know, because cryptocurrencies have been here for such a long time. And I would not be surprised if that was one of the channels that was used to stealthily get money into the country. And so the thing is that when it comes to a country like Uganda and many African countries, where we have not even paid attention to crypto, because merely putting in place what you call a sandbox, you see, you are trying to deal with an entity that does not want to be regulated. So who tells you even when they will come with the open hands? They're going to hide a number of things, because what makes crypto is that concealment. And you want them now to operate in open space like other currencies do, and you think they're going to say yes? They're going to come up with other mechanisms. So a country like Uganda, not only do we not have a law that regulates campaign finance, we don't even have any framework in place to regulate cryptocurrencies. And you've seen, like you introduced, a shop has been opened on Kampala Road. Now, when that shop gets to be opened there, it tells you by the time it opens, the cryptocurrency as a concept has now been deeply entrenched in the country. And a lot of people have now gotten to use it. And we don't know how this is going to mean to our politics, because we have a law that stops political parties from accessing money from foreign sources. But when it comes to crypto, because the crypto money won't be kept on any bank account. Therefore, if you're waiting to track it from Bank of Uganda or the Financial Intelligence Authority, you will not find it. And when you ask our good friends at the Financial Intelligence Authority, do you have any mechanisms in place to track transactions on crypto? I'm not sure they will say, yes, we have something. Crypto is crypto as a currency has not only been embraced by people who are trying to fund politics, but I think also terrorists, but we will get there. Now, so I think it's important to understand this cryptocurrency, that as a currency, first of all, you cannot touch it, you cannot feel it. It's a currency in your head. It is utopian, you see. So how are you going to track it? So I want to end by saying that we have really a challenge on our hands. And I don't think the regulatory framework, the lawmakers, and the institutional framework, the institutions we have in place, will be able to handle what is about to come when it comes to crypto, especially in a country where corruption is the norm, especially syndicated corruption. Thank you, Felix.
Thank you so much. Well, let's go for a break, but when we return, we'll continue with this conversation. First of all, to look at what opportunities does cryptocurrency present, apart from the fears we have.
Welcome, my people. A cup of coffee, please. There is tea, everything. The snacks are on the way.
Yeah, thanks, but the reason that's why we are here, our people need public services. We at least need an ambulance at every center free.
My sub-county is the forest. We used to depend on the former MP's vehicle, but when he lost his elections, he took away his vehicle.
Of course.
So what does that mean?
Use your budget as a district to procure the ambulances.
If I could, I would. But unfortunately, government operates differently.
What are you saying, Chairperson? This is very serious and urgent.
Yes. I know. And why are they called local leaders then?
Local government.
You people, who sent you here?
I know, of course. We are concerned citizens who are watching people dying every day.
We've lost our beloved ones just because of poor health services.
Something has to be done.
You are right. Something has to be done.
Yes.
And very fast.
Yes.
That's transport for you. Go back.
But
All your concerns are taken care of. I will handle.
But
Have a
Chairman,
safe journey.
Thank you so much.
but this man seems to undermine our cause as to why we're here.
No, don't misunderstand me. This is just transport. No strings attached.
Chairman, we came here to discuss and find solution to our problems. But it seems you don't want to engage with us. Let's go and mobilize people, and you'll see how serious we are.
Good citizens, let us always hold our leaders accountable. Leadership is a service, not a privilege.
Contribute today at www.politicalfinanceafrica.org/donate.
You're still watching Acfim Talks. Welcome back from the break. And we're discussing cryptocurrency and political financing in Uganda. And I have two distinguished guests. I have Geoffrey Ekongot, who is a digital expert, and also Henry, who is the political finance expert, helping us make sense and draw the relationship between cryptocurrency and political financing in Uganda. And before Henry went for a break, he had presented something that I think it's worth following through. This whole concept of cryptocurrency, I know it has pros and cons, but let me start with Geoffrey. First of all, I'm still struggling to understand who owns the crypto industry. Is it that industry that is not owned by anybody? Because are the originators of cryptocurrency the owners of cryptocurrency? But also, what are the opportunities cryptocurrency presents, especially when it comes to financing politics, beyond the fears? And I'll also come back to you, Henry, to see whether you see the same opportunities, but also what are the fears? What does it mean to the whole aspect of transparency in political financing when you have such a currency? You ably said is that deals with concealment. But let me start with you, Geoffrey.
Thank you, Felix. I think the issue of ownership in the cryptocurrency space is not a very high priority because of the nature of cryptocurrencies. The real issue here is, like from the context of government, is the ability to have a trail on the flow of money. And to have some sort of control, but primarily to understand who is doing what. And that's where most of the effort is going for now. And to sort of take a position on that, or to attempt to intercept that whole process that cryptocurrency is creating, many governments have already gone the path of creating digital currencies. So this is a different layer from cryptocurrencies. I don't know whether this makes sense. Let me try and explain. Now, cryptocurrencies are digital currencies, but they are not the only digital currencies. So there's been an attempt to now create a digital equivalent of our fiat currencies. For example, China is already way ahead in that space. They are in the final stages of their pilot to see how this works. They want to create, they have already created a digital yuan. And Kenya is already also ahead in that space. Nigeria has also created a digital naira. So the idea behind this is that they want to offer cheaper ways and more a system that creates a money trail. Because these digital cash solves some of the problems that cryptocurrencies are solving, but also gives governments back some form of control. So the thinking is that digital currencies are going to be the middle ground to cryptocurrencies, the middle ground between our paper fiat currency and cryptocurrencies. So governments have already taken several steps in that direction, and I think BOU is already also thinking about it. They just they have too many things to understand, and they have been very slow. I think courtesy of the former governor. The former governor had a very sort of traditional perspective to these things, and he wasn't ready for what's the future. However, digital currency is a huge opportunity. For example, what would it mean for Uganda? Uganda is one of those countries that should have been really ahead and taken the advantage, because we have many players who have been leaders in that space. For example, one of the foremost authorities in the cryptocurrency space is a guy called Noah Basa. There's a long name, Basala. He's one of the founders of a platform called Savannah and Binusu. Binusu is a cryptocurrency platform, right? Born in Uganda and serves Ugandans. Although right now, because of the BOU current directive against using crypto exchanges, they are now focused on peer-to-peer transactions. So that brings us back to what Henry was talking about in regards to controlling the funds towards political actors. Political actors are going to be very active in that space by taking advantage of the option of peer-to-peer transactions. Because previously, beyond peer-to-peer, even companies could set up cryptocurrency accounts and directly link them to their organization bank accounts, and then they could transact. By government coming up with a hard stance on the space, they have now forced some kind of underground layer to this whole thing. The underground layer is growing strong, and in countries like Nigeria and Kenya, I think they are the most powerful in Africa. They have a very active peer-to-peer crypto community, cryptocurrency community, where individuals are sending each other money. And in the case of Uganda, you can't stop, for example, if you can't fund NUP as a party, I'm sure someone out there can send Bobby Wine any amount of cryptocurrency. And he can do the same to any member of the party. And there are many individuals who are willing to offload this same cryptocurrency in exchange for cash, regular UGX. And they know what to do with it once they have it as in their wallet, because the usage of cryptocurrencies for transactions is growing globally. A lot of big companies are now accepting cryptocurrency. You can buy cars, you can buy houses, you can pretty much do a lot of things, most especially in the e-commerce world. A lot of e-commerce platforms have started accepting cryptocurrencies. So I think it makes more sense for the regulators to sort of, instead of banning, they need to watch closely and then understand better and have an opportunity. And the other opportunity is this one that I just mentioned, where Uganda should just go for a digital EGX. A digital EGX would simplify a lot of things, but would also create a lot of room for following the money trail. The opportunity it creates is that it doesn't just seem one-sided, like things are happening now. Like it appears government is putting all the money, all the effort of following the money on the opposition, but it's not doing the same for the people on the government side. They're also receiving funding. So, but with a digital currency, there will be a paper trail on everybody. So even on themselves or on the government actors, it would also solve a lot of problems on corruption, because the paper trail will be there for everyone to see, and then it's up to them to do with it what they want. But right now, with our paper cash is very the fiat cash is very fiat money is very hard to track, and a lot is happening. So that's really what is happening. That the two paths that are unlocking is the digital the digital currency layer for countries, and of course the crypto space also happening independent of the digital money. In fact, for Uganda, it would remove the costs that are associated with mobile money. We spend so much money paying for transfers, withdrawals, but if the BOU took over and created their own digital cash, then transactions would be free or almost free. It would be much cheaper, and they would be able to still follow the money.
Thank you so much, Geoffrey. Henry, Geoffrey presents an opportunity, because as I was discussing, I was like, okay, so cryptocurrency is not as initially assumed. It provides an element of transparency. There is a trail of transaction. Is that an opportunity when it comes to transparency in political financing? Do you see any opportunities towards improving transparency in political financing, or you see threats and risks? What's your take?
Let me state that the fundamentals upon which cryptocurrency was invented was to avoid paper trail or any form of tracking of sorts. Of course, like you said at the beginning, there are over 1,000 types of cryptocurrencies. But the major ones, Bitcoin, for example, is completely anonymous. They don't have paper trail. But there are also cryptocurrencies that are able to keep paper trail, because in that ledger, once that ledger is there, it is there, it can track. But you asked about the advantages and the pros and cons. The first thing I want to put out is cryptocurrency is not the type of currency you shall carry and go to William Street and purchase things. It doesn't act that way. So that is I don't know whether that is a negative or minus. So the other advantage I've seen is what Geoff just highlighted, that it will enable opposition political parties in the context of political finance to access money wherever they want, from wherever they need across the country, without being necessarily tracked. Because you can receive this money and it will be incognito, cannot be tracked. You don't have to report anywhere, because there is no letter in the law that allows you to register or disclose crypto transactions. And then you can pass it on to service providers or to your candidates, who can who might eventually cash it, and by the time they cash it, there are too many layers that even if government wanted to track, they would lose track, and they just let it be. So it's one way of circumventing the very strict political party financing rules and guidelines. But the other disadvantage we have is crypto offers an opportunity to launder money, which is a big disadvantage, because you see, you can get your dirty money, then you invest, you convert into cryptocurrency, you bring it here, you purchase a building already done, an already finished building, or an apartment building, or luxurious, whatever. You can even buy a car, for as long as the agent, the one who is selling, accepts crypto. So the one who is selling will also be happy and willing to accept crypto, because you see, then the taxman will not see the transaction. Then you don't have to pay tax. You have evaded it. It should be clear that the biggest disadvantage of crypto is its ability to circumvent the banking system. Okay, of course, then it would create problems for anti-money laundering efforts. Our brothers at the Financial Intelligence Authority will have a rough day. The other disadvantage is terrorism financing. You see, terrorists can easily move money across borders through crypto to finance activities that may destabilize the country, and that's not a good thing. The other thing is that it would allow, during election campaigns, a number of unscrupulous businessmen who are targeting government as the source of big ticket deals to bankroll candidates or a party that they think has the potential to go through, win the election. And they would bankroll this for the very purpose of ensuring that they are able to control whatever comes out as the decision. And therefore, you get to see that often there are more disadvantages than there are advantages now. Of course, when we remember, when we have read the history, that most of the people that adopted cryptocurrencies in the beginning were organized criminals that wanted to move money in huge amounts, but doing so without being detected, without being tracked, which is why you will not be surprised to find that there is a huge amount of cryptocurrency around the drug producing countries, Latin America, for example. Okay, and so I think countries have tried to counteract this by converting their own currencies into digital currencies, like Geoffrey was proposing. But I think there are quite a number of things to worry about than to be happy about. But of course, technology changes, and you get to see that there is an increase in the popularity of these cryptos because of the secrecy. And I'm sure in countries like Russia, many oligarchs would want to, invest in crypto and move money through crypto, because then they will not be detected. I am sure even here, many of the people who are, in this country, you cannot hold 100 billion if the system, the regime, you're not on the good side of the regime. But if you have through crypto, you can actually, hide it, and nobody shall ever know. So we are in a situation where cryptocurrency has come. It's here to stay. It is growing in popularity. It's not clear how government is going to regulate it. The people that are making the laws are not educated about it. We really have a challenge on our hands.
Let me chip in, Henry, quickly on the issue of anonymity. Technically, it was structured that there's a lot of anonymity around cryptocurrencies. However, the high wall of anonymity is going down, and this is how it's going down. Most of the transactions that happen in the crypto world go through the crypto exchanges because it's a safer place to transact. However, the crypto exchanges have started some form of self-regulation. Some of it is self-regulation, and some of it is from in the countries where they operate. The self-regulation they are undertaking is similar to what the banks are doing. They have implemented KYC policies. You can know your customer policies. For example, you cannot open a crypto wallet or the equivalent of a crypto account without providing information about yourself. And this information has to be verified. All the top crypto exchanges require the basic KYC, the same as opening a bank account. They require you to provide proof of identity, such as a passport or national ID or anything that close. So you will find that they have information about you. Two, there has been self-regulation around anti-terrorism, and they have also created some kind of a red flag system around certain types of transactions. These red flag systems are not really directly being pushed by humans, but they are creating, they call them smart contracts. Sort of smart contracts are automatic programs that work around principles. Let's say in their KYC system, Mr. Henry is on the red flag list. They will put a profile on your account that says if Mr. Henry transacts Bitcoin worth $1 million, it should be blocked. And it's beginning to happen. In Nigeria, a lot of players in the crypto space were crying last year because Binance was targeting them for this reason or the other. And many of their accounts, crypto wallets were frozen. Of course, there's ways around that. The big players who can afford to hire experts to manage for them their finances have so many other options because typically holding a crypto account or what is called a wallet comes in many formats. The typical one is what they call a hot wallet, where it's hosted on a crypto exchange. They provide a platform where you are able to log in and you can monitor your account, you can transact. And then there's a cold wallet, which is, again, they're providers, but it can be offline. It means you can have your account simply sitting on a flash disk. It means you have your crypto funds seated on your flash disk. No one can access them until you choose to send them. And then, of course, there are third-party platforms that give you a secure way of sending your crypto funds. So, but usually the average person transacting on these crypto platforms has to use the traditional platforms like Binance or the exchanges that tend to have all these safety measures in place. They also offer so many advantages because every time you hold crypto, you at some point want to do something with it. Most people are holding crypto funds as an asset class. So as an asset class, often you want to trade it for another asset that may have more value. You want to, it's basically they are making money off these assets. Not necessarily transacting to purchase anything particular, but they are holding them for purposes of growing those funds. So when you use the non-traditional platforms, it's hard to take advantage of all those opportunities in crypto. And these opportunities only exist in such platforms. And those platforms are they are taking that wall of anonymity down by implementing strong KYC measures and by also implementing additional layers of policies around these things that reduce anonymity.
Okay, thank you. You're still watching Acfim Talks. We're having a very interesting conversation around cryptocurrency and political financing in Uganda. Our time is fast spent. Allows me only to have one or two questions, but you can send in your questions and we'll be able to attend to them. And also you can, any comment you have around the subject. let me. I was reading a report again by Baker McKinsey. I think also Ghana. Ghana they have communal land. I think Ghana, even Kenya, they are using cryptocurrency to mirror land title transactions. So in this case, you can actually the stock of your cryptocurrency can be used for. You can use it to go and access. You can ask security to access loans, which was a challenge with most people in Ghana who never had land titles to transact. So I can see, looks like countries are really trying to tap into the benefits cryptocurrency presents. But Henry, in view of what seems to be now a currency that has come to Uganda, and seems to be gaining traction, what then does that make the future of political financing amid this growing popularity of crypto financing?
I think if I was the lawmaker in Uganda, I would quickly move to revise and amend most of the laws we have. I would listen to the voices that are calling for enactment of a campaign finance law, because, like Geoffrey said, the wall of anonymity may be coming down, but remember, already we have more than 1,000 cryptocurrencies. There are some that are purely defiant and are saying that the underlying principle of crypto is anonymity. We maintain that. So are you going to regulate all 1,000? And as we speak, many more may be forming. You see. So I think the time has come for us to have a legislation in Uganda that will only allow crypto that allows a degree of transparency. Those that advance, propagate the angle of anonymity should not be allowed to be in the country. There's also an issue of reporting, because both political parties and candidates must be able to report. We do not have any legal provisions that require candidates or political parties to report on cryptocurrency donations, which again takes us back. You spoke about the future of this. We takes us back to what is it that we don't have? Where are we most vulnerable? I have been reading that Japan is one of the few countries that have adopted a national system to regulate cryptocurrencies. Can we study it? How does it look like? I know that the other countries that do not want to be, to get into the whole, confusion of crypto have just banned them. Uganda hasn't. As a matter of fact, Uganda, we do not have a law that allows cryptocurrency to operate. Neither do we have a law that stops them. So there is a lacuna. What does the law say? There is not even one letter in the law books of Uganda that reads cryptocurrency or digital currency. I think we need to move very quickly and tighten up the loose ends, because with the kind of syndicated corruption in place, with the number of interests that would like to finance our politics from abroad, plus also the people that don't wish Uganda well and would want to destabilize it, we are not in the best position if we don't have regulations and institutions that are not, because we don't not only need the laws, but we also need institutions to be capacitated. The individuals that are manning those institutions should be well trained. They should not be chasing shadows, because when you chase shadows, you come after the crypto has passed, you come after havoc has been wreaked. So I think these are some of the things we need to think about for the future. But as it is now, our future is really a concern. We are now struggling with inflation. We are talking about imported inflation. Are we sure that crypto cannot be one avenue of importing inflation? Forget the Ukraine-Russia thing. Maybe crypto, because if you have too much money coming to the country from across the borders, it will increase the volume of currency and circulation. depending on how many people would want to translate crypto into local currency. What is that going to make? What impact is that going to have on the inflation situation? So these are some of the things we need to look at, but without a regulatory framework, without men and women that have been trained and capacitated to understand the dynamics of cryptocurrencies, our future is bleak. Back to you, Felix.
Thank you so much. Of course, the question of regulation seems to be coming out prominently across the globe, especially concerning cryptocurrency. But Geoffrey, in a minute or two, as we bring this to a close, because you're having the final say, what does this cryptocurrency growth mean to the banking industry in Uganda as we bring this to a close? In a conclusion.
Thank you, Felix. So as we conclude, the general position has been lying from two perspectives. One is to disassociate, and also in the context of banning, or two, to adopt. But then the question has been, adopt how? For many countries, it has been agreed that it makes more sense to adopt because the crypto world is unstoppable. And if you can't play along, it will play around you. So in adoption, the strategies have taken a path of fighting the issues like what Henry has raised, the issue, for example, of inflation. To protect the citizens from inflation, they are taking a position of creating what they call a new class of crypto currencies, and that class is called stablecoins. Because typical cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are not pegged against any form of value. They are pegged on the value is driven by the users and how much they believe in it and how much they are willing to do with whatever they want to do with it. But there's a school of thought that cryptocurrencies need to be pegged against something. And the position now is to peg the cryptocurrencies against national currencies. So that creates what they call the stable coins. And many have already been created in the US. There's already the US dollar stable coins. There are several of them already. And many countries are thinking in that direction. So in our context, we would need to create some kind of homegrown cryptocurrency that is pegged against the Uganda shillings, so that people can be protected from this random of commonly associated with cryptocurrencies that most people really don't understand how it comes about. So the future is really in that direction. So if there is a cryptocurrency that is a stable coin and is pegged against the UGX or Uganda shillings, it should be sort of supported and recognized. So because that's a much safer way, other than trying to directly control. Just link it to the Uganda shilling, and whatever happens to the Uganda shilling is the same thing that will happen. But you still give people an opportunity to play in the crypto world, and because creating a cryptocurrency is very easy, anyone can create it. But it is getting it to play in the wider landscape of the crypto space that is harder. So you need to do all these other things. If you give it support, that gives it an opportunity to play well and grow. And gain a footing. If you don't give it the support, then it sort of dies. So the direction of the future of that space is around that adoption, and then play in a way that is linked to your own currency, because that's much safer.
There you go. And that brings us to a close. Thank you so much. That was Geoffrey Okongo, who is a digital expert. And also with me, I had Henry Muguzu, who is a political finance expert. We were discussing cryptocurrency and the political finance in Uganda. Till next time, next week, same place. Bye-bye. Stay safe. I remain Felix Kafuma, your host. God bless.